Of course. So my pitch on my I was on the podcast, and the only thing that actually worked was me saying that I like a technical consulting. Is it? What not? See? Yeah.
She knows.
So we are here with Varun Arora. People are very interested. One's very, very young over here. So it's not too long ago
Thank you
that
for the compliment.
it's not too long ago that he actually ended up it's not been too long, or it's not been like a decade or something. He's been someone who's young, fresh, and he's done it. And
I mean, yeah, definitely. I think a lot has to be given to the time. I think a lot, like luck played a good part in it as to I got that opportunity very early on, right after college when I joined Klenty as a account executive. I mean, so I think this was right after college when I was just still planning, what should be my next step. And I was leaning more towards going for masters somewhere out. Most of my friends did.
very typical, no?
Yeah, very typical. All of my friends were doing it. So I was like, okay, I mean, let's do that. I have 3-4 months though in between. So I thought, okay, I don't want to just sit idle. Let me just take up some role, some opportunity and just go for it. And let's see how it works out. That's where I found an inbound marketing role on LinkedIn from Klenty. I had no idea. I mean, I am an automobile engineering graduate. So I'm far from software sales, things like that. I was part of ISEC during my college time. So that's where I have all the sales
place
exposure.
where all the fancy people go to and are exposed towards.
It's a bit more than that, but okay, yeah, you can say that. And that's where I got a bit of exposure into sales and marketing. And after my 4 years after graduating, I thought I would want to do like an internship in that area. And I got this inbound marketing thing on LinkedIn. I applied for it. I didn't know what was inbound. I didn't know what was marketing at all, at least related
So
to
you just
software.
went for the interview as is.
Yeah, I just went for the interview. I read the job description. I found some similar words and words.
Keywords and
words. Yeah. I was like, let's go for it. And I think I went for the interview. The co-founder of Klenty, like Venkat, was there, and he asked me a bunch of questions. He started with, how many times I post on social media and what do I know about performance marketing. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I think I'm in the wrong place. And I think 5 minutes down the line, he himself was like, I don't think you are meant for this role. So we both were on the same page with that. And but he kind of told me, like, we have another opportunity for you. So if you want, you can actually apply for that.
How did you sell him to be like in sales? Like, you would have done something for sure to.
I mean, I actually mostly spoke about what I did in ISEC because there is where I kind of led a team of like 20-25 team members, and it was selling a product, right? It's a non-profit youth-run organizations. We still run it as a business, but whatever we kind of get profits, we invest it back into the organization.
So that was the pitch.
Yeah, that was the pitch, like what I was doing, what I was pitching, how I was selling products to different markets in Chennai. So that's what I think caught his attention, where he saw, okay, it's more sales related than marketing. So he called me back for account executive role, which I went like a week later. And a week later, I went for that job interview, and then I got in. Actually started as, first thing I think he asked me to do in Klenty was answer support chats. He was just like, answer support chats, and I think for a month I was just answering customer queries. Like, I didn't know much about the product, I didn't know much about the whole industry, nothing. I was just first 1 month just answering customer queries, like a lot of customer queries, and that gave me a really good understanding of what the product does,
Where the problem is,
what customers are actually looking to do when they're starting to use the product. So a lot of learnings came in that first month, and then I moved to actually doing sales and demos and things like that.
So was it like easier because you did support for like that 1 month, or is that something was just like I did it and
No,
kind of worked out?
100%. I think I would not have been good at demos, or I don't know. Today, since I've done it, I think it's definitely something I would recommend, or I would definitely want to do. If I join a new company, I would just want to spend a lot of time in customer support so that I understand about the product, about the market, industry, and things like that. Understanding about the product, I feel, is a very very undervalued thing in sales, where people don't really go much deeper into understanding what product you're selling in software specifically, right?
I think it's mainly been more about like you do like a proper product training,
Right.
and then they expect you to understand the product from the product manager's
Right.
perspective,
Right.
and then you're supposed to be like, come go pitch the product and sell the product
Exactly.
because it's easier that way.
Yeah,
Is what
I mean, in the first 1 month, 2 months of your onboarding, I think you get a lot of theoretical knowledge with related to the product, but I would recommend go and use it, like actually use it. Now again, if you're in sales and you're just using a sales tool, now if you don't sell a sales tool, I don't know how you're going to use that product. But the idea is be very close to the product to understand how it works, right? And because these are the things that gives you that confidence on the demo.
So I kind of understand when you say that, you need to understand and use the product, because when you have to sell the product, you need to be able to have, even know the nuances of what are the problems the product actually can tackle with, or what exactly the problems customers have faced, and that kind of becomes easier to tackle with when you're on that call.
Correct.
Right?
Definitely. So I think that is a very undervalued thing I've seen recently with the A's, where they don't really go very deep into the product. But I think that helps a lot on a long run, or subconsciously, I think you're much more confident on the call, and you know that you know those things if it, in case it comes up, right?
So is better like everyone at least gets like a 1 day exposure to a
Oh,
support kind of a thing
100%. They
per
should definitely
week.
do that.
Am I kind of trying to create a situation for salespeople to probably come hoarding at me saying, "Why did you even say that or give that as an
No,
idea
I think
out?"
it'll be much better than, like, they still have a onboarding plan they have to go
Of
through,
course.
right?
But then no one puts in support, right? Because that's like the most
But I think they'll
last
enjoy
thing
it.
to think
I think
about.
they'll enjoy it. I think I would prefer that more than reading like 5-page document. I would rather prefer.
There are many people out there who may probably disagree on this.
Maybe.
But I'll be one of the people who supports you on that part.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thanks.
But then going back to like the actual part on what is this deal with the 2,500 plus demos? Like, what did you not sleep? Did you not eat
I mean,
in between?
so this is probably the time, I think 5-6 years back, when I mean, SaaS was not this tight a competition. I mean, there were 50 tools in a category. Today there are like 5,000 tools in a category.
Fair.
But I think this was, again, I got lucky during the time. This is like pre-COVID, and I think we were growing really fast. We were bootstrapped, we were growing, and all the demos I'm talking about are actually inbound demos. So literally there's
wow.
no outbound. These are all inbound demos which used to come in during that time at Klenty, and I would be taking around 5 to 6 demos or 7 demos a day, right?
Wow.
Again, handling US, most major part of my time was handling US, because that's where and again, the other reason was I was the sole AE. Like, I was the only account executive for a long time. So any demo came in, it was just me.
So you did also end to end in terms of the sales process, if I have to be more specific, because when you say you took demos, it's more considered more pre-sales today as compared to how people are
Right.
looking at AE role right now as a whole, right?
Correct. I mean, this was again SMB focused. So there, I think today also most SMB focused don't really spend on a pre-sales most of the times. If for the SMB market, you tend to keep it a lot more self-served, right? They can come, they can try, they can use it, and they can purchase it, and the cycle has to be shorter, right? 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So mostly there is one SMB AE that can handle the full thing, from discovery, demo, negotiation, to all the way to closing. So that's what we were doing at Klenty. I think again it was a very early stage. I was like 25th employee in the company, and we were at like close to 1 million in revenue ARR.
Oh, wow.
Right, very early. And then the next 2 years, or like I think next 1.5 years, we doubled that, and we went to 2 million ARR, right? And that happened, and I was the only AE taking all the demos where that revenue was coming from. So I think that's where that 2,500 calls just happened.
So you did like a 5-on-5 conversion, like how the LinkedIn posts say.
Not really. Not more. I wish I did, but not really. Not. The product was really good, to be honest. I think something that assisted as a salesperson, and I think this also goes down heavily in sales today, where people think good salespeople have some sort of like a formula and they're doing something, and that's how they're closing. And it's not really. There's not really like a magical formula that I can share, and you can just take that and start closing, right? Like you mentioned initially.
I thought I'll create a LinkedIn post out of this.
No, I think it doesn't work that way. I think what really works is experimentation. You really have to try out everything and figure out what's really working and what's not working, and then probably double down on that. I think that's one approach which most of the time just works. And
Which is one of these approaches that actually worked for you? Like you did it, and like multiple times that you actually tried it out, it worked.
yeah, I mean, if I talk about like say in Outbound, which I just started right for my own company, which I run now. So for that, I think I probably had a bunch of different messagings, written bunch of different emails, and I tried everything. I didn't really. I actually went and I took that framework from LinkedIn from everyone. Everyone who's giving that framework, I was taking that and I was actually applying that. But you can't just rely on it, right? You're just testing it, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you have to just play around with it. So we kind of ran a lot of campaigns, and not really same campaigns. It was all different, and we didn't really double down on anything. It was just small batches of a lot of campaigns. And then we found out very specific things that were working for the market we were targeting.
Any one, like just a
um,
hypothetical example,
Yeah.
probably for them
so
too.
for example, for us, so what I do actually, so my company does builds AI agents for quality assurance and training, right, for customer support teams. Something which worked really well for us was that going from the approach of technographics, which is what support tool they are using today, right? We went from hiring support people and a lot of different outbound plays, but the technographic play, or the tech stack play, really worked for us. So we could directly put our messaging saying, we saw you were using Freshdesk, or you're using like a Zendesk to do this, right? And to do this is what AI generates, right? And AI finds out, okay, what they will be using Zendesk to do today. Like if it's a fintech company, for example, they're using Zendesk to answer finance related queries, right?
Yeah, this I think reminds me of that conversation when I had with you around the scoring mechanism that you spoke about, on how you're basically the personalization concept that you entirely drove for
Yeah.
creating these messages.
Yeah. I think again, it was more on the lines that personalization has to be relevant, right? Today, with AI, people can personalize
Oh yeah.
a lot. Like they all I think most of the people are doing and using AI is they are scrapping the LinkedIn profile, right, of a prospect, and they're giving the AI to be like, okay, just write me a personalized opener based on this LinkedIn profile.
That was one of the
Yeah.
emails that I
Right. And that results in, I saw you studied in this particular university, and straight to you're pitching a product saying, what are you using for this particular use case? And I think that doesn't work, right? It's not it is personalization, but not really relevant at all in the conversation. So that's where I think it's more for relevance than personalization. So you have to make sure that you are whatever you're personalizing with is relevant at least to the conversation. So that's where this Freshdesk thing is very relevant, right? We identify a Freshdesk user, we push it saying that you might be using Freshdesk to answer support queries for this specific reason, or you're using Freshdesk for this specific use case, but are you actually seeing the quality of it? You're doing it, but are you actually able to see the quality of that? And that actually resonated a lot with our customers, right? Another great example I would say is in our very early days, I think last year, when we were very early in the product and we just pivoted into this quality assurance and training. And at that point, I was focusing a lot on Indian market, as I was doing cold calling, right? And I would actually have a list of 50 openers. Like I would think, and I would just write down 50 openers. Every week, I would have 50, 60 openers ready. And I would just pick up the call and I would make calls, and I would try each opener one by one, right? And I will see which one is
the
sticking.
Wolf of Wall Street moment where you just pick up the phone and then you go
You
out
just
there.
keep trying every opener, right? And you will know which one is working. Like I figured out a line that really got me almost 60%, 70% conversion rate.
Can you please tell that line? Because I don't want to leave it at
and it was
60,
very specific
70.
to the product. like, because what I would do is I would just be like, are you like, I mean, somewhat related to that would be that today most of the support conversations you're having, you're auditing only 3 to 5% of it. If you're doing it manually, you're actually able to audit the quality in only 3% conversations. Half of them I would speak to will say yes to this, and I'm like, why? If you have, I can come and I can make sure you're
I
doing
relate to
100%, right? So that I figured from doing 100 of calls and trying 100 things and then figuring out, okay, this is what works.
You also said that you kind of, in a way, repeat these things, especially your emails as well as the calls, before you actually go on the field and like perform it. Because that's what you mentioned, that, you know, it helps me understand better whether will the customer even like relate to it.
Yeah. I think emails, it works really well where you write a cold email and I mean, just think of it. If you get this email in your inbox tomorrow morning, are you going to reply to this? Right? And this has made me scrap a lot of sequences I've written and rewrite the whole thing in a good way. I think it definitely helps a lot when you just reflect it from that perspective that, I mean, whatever you writing, will you, reply to this email if you got it tomorrow? So that helps a lot. Yes.
Now, this brings me back to that point, because I remember you mentioning about a book that you actually recommended to read over the weekend, which I'm like, oh, I have to read a book over the weekend. I need to like.
Yeah. It's not a book. It's kind of a, it's a long form, very, very long form
Your
blog.
mantra for getting the successful.
I mean, for cold emails, I think that's one of the best articles I've read. It's called Cold Email Handbook by Matt Redler. He's the co-founder of Zazu, like a new tool that's coming up. And I think he's written, I think, everything from deliverability standpoint to infrastructure standpoint to warming up your email account. So I think it's one of the best, material on cold emailing today, which someone can read. It's a bit long, but I think definitely likes. But it's quite comprehensive. But it actually covers everything, like everything you might need and everything that works today. From it doesn't really give you straight up messaging, right? See, one of the strategies which is mentioned in Matt's thing on how you should use AI to kind of write your messages is first you write a manual message to your prospect, right? Find your ICP, find one prospect, and write an email which you would write it manually, which you think is the best email to this person, right? And write it manually. Once you've written that email manually, just find out specific points which you can, you have to replace for every prospect. Keep
That's
the
fair.
structure same, but just find out different things which you have to replace for every prospect and use AI to kind of fill those blanks.
I think the way emails are perceived across regions could be different. Like, if I put like a very short email, probably somewhere in the US, it could probably be quickly understood if it's written well. Okay, terms and conditions apply. It's written well, where you're talking about the product. You're not just saying because I read your post or because I ended up seeing which college or school you went to. It specifically speaks about what the challenge is and how you can help with. It has a better conversion, but the same thing probably in the India market may not be the same, right?
Definitely. I think it makes a huge difference in market to market. I think
Any
compared
specific
to-
examples that you have like?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, as a AE, I mean, there are a lot of differences when you're handling an Indian client. So I worked, like in Klenty, I was handling mostly US and Europe markets. But in Deel, during my time at Deel for 2 years, I actually handled just India and markets around India. And it was a huge difference for me coming from US market. And I thought, how much difference can it be, right? It's the same, like it's a software, I need to go give a demo and everything. But there's a huge difference. I mean, the way people in India, a lot has to do with culture, but we won't go there. But I think in India, buyers, specifically for B2B, right, buyers are very, I would say, obviously people say price conscious, I would say ROI conscious, right? Whatever they are investing in, they really want to have a very clear idea on how much they will get back.
I think they're very specific from word to word when it comes to like the India market. Like if you tell them I'm going to sell you an AI product, they'll be like, what are the benefits? What exactly are the
They will just-
tools or the systems, APIs, integrations? You name
Yeah.
it, they'll be like, can you give me the access to
Probably.
understanding all of it in the free version of the product? Let me be specific, because I think that's what I've never seen the India market very easy to convert with when it comes to any kind of tech product that you sell. It's been more about in the free version, you try to utilize like everything at the most, and then understand whether the product's actually working on the capabilities that it promises to.
Yeah, yeah. I think it stems from the whole ROI thing, that they want to make sure that if I'm spending $5 on this, I'm gonna get back $10, and they want to be sure of it before even putting their
Signing the
money in or
contract.
signing the contract or any of these things, right? Obviously, it's not like US people in US don't want ROI. Obviously, everyone, but people, I think, there are much more aggressive when it comes to adopting early, right? They want to take a chance. They if something solves their problem, they want to take a chance. They want to see how it works, and probably and they will do that initial investment to kind of go through it and see that. In India, I think that's very difficult.
You like selling in the US market now?
I think both has its own pros and cons. A
Fair.
lot of things in India, I think, moves a lot faster. I mean, getting a demo booked in India is much easier, right? If you want that initial feedback for your product, how your product is, if you're launching a new product, right, and you want that initial feedback, start with India market, because you will get those initial users much faster, right?
Also, I think the feedback that you get in the India market is much more like literally in-depth changes that you have to like
Yeah,
figure out
my-
whether that's even
Yeah.
required.
So that is the feedback also you'll get for India market.
Yeah. You'll get
So-
it instantly. The moment
Yeah.
the problem occurs,
Yeah.
you're going to get a feedback on
but
that.
still, that initial, you have someone using your product, giving you some sort of feedback, some beta testing is done. So that kind of is a good part for India. But again, when it comes down to pricing and actually how many of those people will pay, we faced first-hand problems with that with my startup. And I think US, obviously the feedback also is very good. When you get to that feedback part, it's much better in terms of how it works. Um, Also, again, this can be a very personal take on it, but in India, I feel the value of something can save you time, right, is not that much, right? If I tell an Indian that this tool can save 20 minutes, 30 minutes daily, or like an hour daily, and I pitch the same thing to someone in US, I think the reaction will be very different, because people in India the next question they'll ask you is how much does it cost, right? People in US might probably be like, okay, how does it work? Like, show me how does it work. So these are two different things you're tackling for two different markets. So as I said, it might come down to culture probably, but yeah, it's very different. And it was selling to HR, right? Which I kind of underestimated initially. I thought, again, software,
to sell.
yeah, I have to again go give a demo. It's a software product.
You would have already sold yourself to an HR to come to Deel also.
Kind
in terms of like
kind of
work.
yeah.
You would have pitched yourself well.
Yeah, there definitely. But I think it's a huge difference. When I started selling to HR, I realized how much of an importance it makes on which department you're selling to, right? Because when you're selling to HR, again, understanding an HR's day-to-day life is very important. Like, you have to understand how they start their day, what do they do, what's the most important things they do, what they value, right? All these things you have to understand for the person you're selling to. Now, if I'm selling it to HR, I really need to understand those things. I think in the first 3-4 months of Deel, it was insane learning period, right? And Deel was very good with documentations, right? And making sure everything is documented. And they had a very good documentation in place for HR, payroll, compliance. And best part, for example, Deel handles compliance in 120 countries, right? Now, I actually ended up being a compliance expert in Spain, US, Portugal.
The documentation
Yeah,
that were
because I had to sell it. Right? I have to sell compliance in Spain. If I don't know compliance in Spain at the back of my hand, how am I going to be confident
Did you
about selling?
memorize all of it?
Yeah, they had good documentation, so you could actually pull it up, and you can. Now, if I'm doing it 5-6 times, I would know, okay, this country has a 13th month payroll, right? In a country like Spain or Portugal, I'm not sure, but you have to pay like a 13-month bonus. Right? So there are different rules in different countries. And I had to go through all of that and learn all of that just so I could sell a HR product.
And you also didn't have exposure to the pre onboarding thing where you were able to get a hand with the customer support kind of a thing, like how you did with.
Right. That doesn't happen. That I didn't get because this was a set, like this was an established company by then.
So you couldn't even.
Correct. So all I had was, but again, their documentation was very good, right? What Deel did actually helped me a lot in catching up to these things much faster.
They also have a very high percentage attainment number requirement that they have. I remember when I saw your LinkedIn profile first and I went to Deel, you had like 100% plus attainment, like quarter after quarter after
And
quarter.
that would still probably not be, I'm still not like the top AE there. So there are better AEs doing much better
Are
numbers.
people even like existing?
I mean, Deel was actually, I mean, obviously, I think at this point, Deel is one of the fastest growing
Yeah.
companies in the world. I think it's an exception. And you could actually see why. Like, if you're working from inside, I think the culture and you would see everyone is hungry to actually perform. And why would you not? Like, you'll feel like you should be doing it extra 100% because everyone else around you is doing it. So that was one of the culture from Klenty, which was bootstrapped, right? And we had a stable growth to Deel where growth is every day, like every minute thing, and everyone's looking at numbers and everyone's growing much faster. So that was like a good contrast. But coming back to selling to HR, I think definitely it makes a lot of difference if you're selling to like a salesperson or if you're selling to a HR tool or a fintech tool. It's very important to understand how the department day to day works, how the person, what that person does on a daily basis.
What would your research have been like if you were even doing this research?
I think
Do you like talk to HRs? Do you like try to understand only by talking to them like this is the process, or how do you go about? Because I don't know how many people actually would who are selling a product, or say for example a fintech product. How many of them would actually go to the finance team, sit with them, understand the entire process? Because it's going to be different across companies, across the business sizes that currently are there. Like for an SMB, it'll probably not be a very extensive process compared to an enterprise.
True.
So like, how did you?
I think one way is to talk to them. Either you talk to the department with Deel, right? But I think a lot of time for Deel, for example, I got everything documented, right? I and then slowly in conversations I realized, okay, there are things that they have to do, how HR actually works with finance, right? And how I have to actually talk to finance department also to kind of, understand the
So you have to
payroll, the
pitch
taxes. Right. So I have to pitch both because there was HR and then there was payroll. So payroll is a finance thing. So finance comes in and how the whole payroll thing works, how attendance works, right? How attendance. So there are small things which you need to make sure that you understand how the system works in general. If you're from that department, or if you are from that background, I think it's definitely much easier for you to grasp on it. But if you're not, I think definitely talk. And it's not something you can learn overnight, right? You have to just keep talking. I would say till the last day of the deal, I would have learned something. I would have learned something new I didn't know from last 2
You
years.
worked on the last days also at Deel.
I mean,
When everyone in the in that period has probably been like either chilling or doing a handover, but then
no. I mean, we were working because
you are
everyone's
24
working.
by 7.
Yeah. I mean, not 24/7. Probably Sundays is off.
You take the day off?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I thought you
Maybe.
didn't never took that.
That was when I was working at Deel. Now I don't know, but when I was working at Deel.
You did move out of Deel. You are creating your own brand, ScoreAI. So I'm making sure that we
Thanks for the shout out.
So I am going to come to that part. But I think what people would want to know is you left Deel. Then what exactly? Why did you leave Deel? For sure. I'm not sure if that's something you want to answer immediately.
No, I can.
You.
It's not that controversial if you're thinking.
I thought it was like, why would you leave like a company where you're getting like 100% plus attainment month, like quarter after
That's
quarter?
what my mom asked me. Also,
Oh.
like, why am I doing
Very
this?
typical, no?
Yeah,
When
yeah.
they see you getting like, oh wow, you're succeeding, why will you want to leave the
Yeah, yeah.
company? You got bored.
Not really. I mean, the decision to leave Deel not really happened in the last, like, all of a sudden. I think since my Klenty time, I've been staying with some of my co-workers from Klenty. Shashank, who's a developer, who was a lead developer in Klenty. So we are roommates since we were working in Klenty. And I mean, we worked in Klenty, then he moved to a different startup in US. I moved to Deel. We've worked in startups since we came out of college, and we've always shared ideas. Multiple ideas have gone, us just sitting in the hall and just talking about this startup and that startup and how we think this is going to work and that
So
is
you're
gonna
like,
work.
let's have another startup.
Yeah, so we always thought, obviously, we will want to start something. He's good at building products, and on the tech side, I have done some part on the sales side. So we felt like, okay, we can do something together. And we had a lot of ideas come and go, and we were like, no, not the right time.
Right.
The first product we started was not at all this. The first thing we started building, I left my job for, was Soul. And it was like a CRM, like an AI for CRM updates, right?
Okay.
Because as a salesperson, and I wanted to build something I know very much about. I should know this problem exists. I know people are facing this problem. So I wanted to build something for myself, right? And that's how it started. Being in Klenty, being in Deel, being an account executive, my biggest problem in life was
Updating the CRM.
I hated that part. I hated it. I mean, that was my Friday before log off, 2 hours cleanup, right? That was a weekly thing I would do for my CRM. And again, I still would have people come and tell me, your CRM is not updated, this is not done, pipeline value is not there. I was like, so done with this. And this is what triggered to me being like, why can't this be solved? Why can't there be tools who are doing, like who can just update CRM? And this is pre-AI. So this was, ChatGPT has not launched yet. So there's no AI as such. There were tools like Dooley and Scratchpad who kind of does it. Just took some inspiration, built like a plugin, like this will update your CRM, but this will join the calls and you can just update CRM very quickly. ChatGPT launched, so we plugged it in with AI. So now they don't have to manually do it. It just does it by itself. Ran it for 2-3 months initially. We saw a lot of work we have to do. It was just like beta. We were just testing it with our initial customers. But then I got a call with a good enterprise company from India, right? It's a edtech company. And I showed them my product and they said, okay, so your product analyzes the calls and understands what to update in the CRM. Can you score the calls for us? Right? And we were like, what do you mean by score the calls? Like, how does that work? And they showed us how their quality team works. They actually showed us, this is what our quality team does. These are the Google Sheets. These are a bunch of things. So I was like, all this happens manually. And they were like, yeah. I was like, this is pretty
Insane.
crazy, right? You are literally having a team of 10 people just coming, listening to calls and filling up Google Sheets. I was like, this whole thing can be automated. Like, and it was a very good brand, very good logo. And this was this one weekend where we pivoted from Soul to Score, right? Just that one call and we were like, okay, will they pay for it? I mean, that was a very big thing, which again, we learned from all the startup videos we saw that, you have to make sure that your customer is actually paying for it. And we actually went ahead and we asked them, will you pay for that? And they were like, yeah. And they actually paid for it. And then we were like, okay, if someone's ready to pay, I think that might be a big opportunity. So we went ahead with pivoting to Score and then gradually building a market in India, selling to a few more brands in India, mostly B2C customers. And then again, starting US now, US, Europe market and so on.
All right. So when you said background and exactly how things are currently with sales, I think sales is not dying, cold calling is not dying, emails are not dying. Everyone's quite alive. Things are evolving. So I
100%.
remember we spoke about how people are now transitioning to a GTM engineering role.
Right.
And then I found it quite fancy, so I ended up looking up, and then it's more like from the thought process that not all regions are quite ready to start hiring people for GTM engineering. It's the same problem we have with product marketing. Like, it didn't start off like from day one in India. It's not evolving the same way what it probably is in the US or in the UK or in Europe for that matter. So any idea in terms of how things are.
Okay. See, GTM engineering, I think, obviously, sales has changed a lot, right? From my time at Klenty to now, it's changed by like a huge margin, right? In terms of, say, if you're talking about response rates on cold emails, right? When I was selling Klenty, which was a cold emailing platform at that point, a email automation tool, if someone asked us, what do you think the good response rate is, and we would say 5%. If you're good 10%, 15% response rates, we would see those campaigns, customers running those campaigns and them getting those results. Today that's like 0.01%, 0.5%, right? 0.2%. If you're very good, 2%, 3% is a very good number today. But see, the problem is today is that the automation is everywhere, right? Everyone knows, if they know that, okay, 140 works, right? Everyone can just automate that their emails exactly goes out at 140. Now everyone is doing that. Obviously the reply rates will come down because a customer opening their email inbox and sees 50, 100 emails, obviously no one's going to read it. Major part of why the response rates are so down, why cold calling, everyone's talking about cold calling being dead, so on and so forth, is definitely comes down to the competition. Like there is, as I said, there's 50 tools in a category 5 years back. Today there are 5,000 tools in a category.
So how does like a GTM engineer then play a role here? Like how are they very different from folks who are already there today?
See, what folks who are there today are basically automating the research. Like, see, GTM engineer can do a job of, say, 5 to 10 SDRs, right? But GTM engineer has a technical side to it, right? Where you need to really know the prompts that will work. For example, you need to really know how to integrate multiple tools and make like one workflow that one person can handle, right? The idea is to consolidate the job of 5-10 SDRs into one, right? And it just adds a top of the funnel person, right? So GTM engineers are the top of the funnel in sales. Everything leads that GTM engineers close or there's any intent moves to SDRs. So when before SDRs were like the top of the funnel thing, they were the ones going out getting the leads. Now there is a GTM engineer who does that job, who's actually sending out, who's actually doing that initial research, who's not doing it manually. The idea is to be doing it using AI, using prompts, using a lot of tools, doing that really well so that your top of the funnel is very efficient, right? That top of the funnel, you don't need so many people to generate your top of the funnel leads. It's just coming through the GTM engineer, through the outbound you're doing with them. And whoever is good intent leads moves to your SDRs. So it's not like it's going to replace SDRs, right? It's just taking a huge part of the SDR's job role, which was time consuming, which to actually make it work would need a lot of experimentation, right? GTM engineers can run those experimentations very fast.
So then what does a person who is probably willing to apply for a GTM engineer role, what do they need to actually know, or which tools do they need to know about? Not courses, but then
Yeah.
for sure.
No, definitely play around with AI a lot. Like you need to know how prompting works. Like really need to know how you can make an AI work and give the results. I think this everyone should be doing at this point. I mean, there are very specific tools like Clay, obviously, which is built for a role like this, right? Where all the tools come in, you can prompt very easily, you can import your list very easily. So there are tools specifically built for this role. But again, I mean, you can literally do the same thing on a Google Sheet with a lot of plugins and a lot of other tools as well. I feel today the most important thing in outbound is triggers and signals, right? As to why are you reaching out to this person? Like, what are you selling? Who you are selling? All that I think is exploited. I think the most important thing today is why are you selling to this person? Why are you sending this message to this person specifically? And why now? This is something that has to be answered in the first line of the email. That's what at least I do, right? I want to make sure that I answer this question as soon as possible in my first touch point. Why am I reaching out to you? And that should make sense to the prospect. If that makes sense, I think everything else follows, and it makes much more sense to the customer to relate to this. So that's where triggers and signals come in very handy. I think to figure out what signals work for you is the actual creative part, right? If you tell
Basically,
me,
the scoring mechanism is what people would need to understand on how do you score a lead, how do you like categorize, create an entire workflow on
correct,
how you're basically supposed to pick and choose your ICP and then create a messaging specific to that ICP and then probably take a
correct. And GTM engineer can come and automate this for thousands of websites, thousands of companies. So now you have the why straight up on in the first line, and I think that's what is going to work. And GTM
interesting.
engineer automates this, like scales this to a large number. Because if SDRs are doing it, probably they can, but I think it'll be a very slow process to cover your TAM. This I think makes it a lot faster.
Interesting. Basically know how to use ChatGPT and Perplexity very well
Yeah,
for the
very
time
well,
being.
very well. I
Till
think
the time you are
yeah.
already, I mean, the role's available and you know that you would have created a couple of workflows using N8.
Yeah.
And there was quite an interesting podcast series where I finally get to decode what is the story behind not only the deals but also the fact that there is some logic to how people are currently writing emails and like who are they writing to, what are they doing, what exactly you need to even understand. So I'm glad we did that. But I think what people also want to know is what would they want to take away from this? Like, should they really continue being an SDR? Should they still feel that there is cold emailing still alive or cold calling still alive?
No, I think it's, as you said, right, it's going to evolve. It's not going to go anywhere. I think we are in a phase where it's everyone's transitioning. Everyone is playing with a lot of new things. Everyone is in the same boat, right? But definitely figure out what's working for you. What's working for someone else might not work for you. So you really have to get out, do it and then figure out what you learned from it, do it again. So I'm up for, the experiment and trial and error and then learning from that. I think I haven't had really got any theoretical things. That's not how I have done. From day one, I've just started answering support chats or doing the demos. So it's more about go out there, do it, and try to understand what's working for you, what's not working for you. Definitely, still SDRs are needed. Cold calling will work, cold emailing will work, but it's just the way it works would evolve. Um, I don't think still people know exactly what's going to work or how things will look like in the next 1 year or 2 years down the line. I mean, a lot of great influencers, a lot of great, tech gurus and people, everyone has their own say around how a buyer journey is changing, how people are buying tools is changing. They're not even coming on a demo, right? They're saying
Yeah.
that they might just see an interactive demo. They might know all your, they might ask everything about you to ChatGPT, see an interactive demo. They have all the information they need. They might not even come for a demo. So it's transitioning. No one knows how it will end up, where it will end up, to be honest. Even I don't know.
Basically, update your LinkedIn profile so ChatGPT can give some decent answer for it. No?
Yeah, probably. But yeah, keep at it. I think keep at it. You need to keep experimenting. I think keep
What is
experimenting.
that one experiment? Because you said it literally 2 times. I can take
Yeah.
shots for it, but then what's that one? Like, it can be the most randomest, smallest experiment that they can actually do today.
Related to like,
Like, it can be even personalization email part, where
Yeah.
what they could do. I mean, any example also in terms
yeah,
of
I mean, see, like how I said, right, initially, something from the cold email handbook, which by Matt. Write an email to your ICP, right? Find one ICP, write a good email to the ICP, manual email, right? Keep it short, write a good email, and then give it to the AI and ask it to probably find things which you can replace for each prospect, right? How you can make it relevant for every prospect. Let the AI do the research for you, right?
Got it.
So this will, end of the day, you might have 15 copies of it, 15 copies of that one email, right? You probably have to try all 15 copies and figure out which kind of messaging is working, what's not working, and so on, right? You can do the same thing for cold calling, right? You can have a list of openers. Anywhere you've seen someone saying, hey, this opener worked for me, add it to your list, right? add all the openers to your list, try out everything. Try out everything to then be like, okay, this is working, this is not working, right? So don't stick to, I think today, don't stick to one thing unless you've tested it and you know that will work. Just because it worked for someone else, it might not work for you. So definitely you need to get there and do it and understand if it's working for you and then double down on it. I think that's the only way I see today that I can say, this will work. If you do this, this is going to work. If you just go out there and just experiment everything and figure out what's working, what's not working, it's going to work. Obviously, there will be different ways you might want to be faster with your experiments. You might want to be, better at how you are running these experiments. That you will, once you start doing it, you'll understand a lot of things. But yeah, I think that is one key takeaway I would say from this.
Amazing. I think we have got quite a few. I would still combine this to 10 LinkedIn posts in one podcast kind of a scenario where we literally try to cover everything possible, what people can actually do without going into checking into multiple profiles. But like you said, I think everyone needs to also start putting all of it together. I would actually analyze a trend in terms of what's the common thing they're actually writing about consistently, and then pick that and use it as my option. But also, I think we can link the book to Matt's
Yeah, 100%.
on to
100%.
make sure people are able to like read through and take your
Definitely.
advice. And if in case you're like me, who probably does not read as much in terms of a detailed book, we can definitely come back to you. Please.
Now at this point, I would say just upload it to like a
Chat
notebook
GPT and
LM
see-
or like
yeah.
and just
Why
ask,
did I never think
just
of that?
enjoy the book. I mean, that's where we are at.
Fair. I should have done that. All right. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Varun, for your time. And I'm so glad that we were able to do this podcast with you. I really have enjoyed talking to you the 3 times that I've actually connected, bugged you in between. But it's been so much fun because it's so relatable with when you say certain concepts, which people kind of in a way miss out. And I'm glad you were able to cover that out for us.
I'm glad I was helpful, and I hope this is helpful for everyone listening to this.
Nice.
And yeah, anytime you can like just ping me, reach out to me. Happy to help.
Amazing. All right. Thank you so much.